Okay, so back to crop farming. Question's a little bit blurry, so I'll just read it out. Who's joined? Who's that? It's Khalid. Khalid, give me a thumbs up in the chat if you can hear me, please. Can you hear me? Yeah, okay, great. So I've actually assigned this. If you go into your assignments onto Teams, you can download this and write your answers below. We'll just go through the question. So it says, describe how glasshouses can be used to increase the yield of a named crop. So that's 5 marks. So you'd have 5 minutes for this question, approximately. The next question, a farmer had a field of maize. That's a different type of crop. Let's see if I can get a picture of maize for you. It's like corn. Let's see. Yeah. So that's maize, if you didn't know already. Okay. So question number 6, a farmer had a field of maize. He found weeds growing amongst the maize plants. Explain how the weeds could reduce the yield of maize. So that's for 2 marks. The second question is, describe one way in which the farmer could get rid of the weeds. The farmer also found insects feeding on the leaves of the maize plants. Explain how insects could reduce the yield of maize. The next one is, name 2 ways in which the farmer could get rid of the insects feeding on the maize. So let's go through the answers. Khalid, if you could download this from your assignments, and you can fill in the answers as we go along. Do you know where assignments, where the assignments tab is? Do you know where that is? Because you're going to have to return it to me. Alright, so let's have a look. Okay, so if we have a look at the answers now, describe how glasshouses can be used to increase the yield of a named crop. Well, you can name the crop. You'll get marks for just going through the factors of photosynthesis. So we can obviously increase the yield of a crop by increasing all the factors needed for photosynthesis. So they're speaking about light, carbon dioxide, temperature, water supply, mineral ions, also control of humidity for transpiration, and seasons. Right, so if we move on to the next one, the farmer had a field of maize. He found weeds amongst the maize. Explained how weeds could reduce the yield of the maize. So if you remember, I did mention competition. So if you have a look here, the maize would compete with our crop for minerals. You can name a mineral or nutrient, water, light, carbon dioxide. So any of those would get 2 marks. We could describe one way in which the farmer could get rid of the weed. So again, pesticides, because it's a weed, we would use a specific pesticide called a herbicide or weed killer, which is a chemical that kills these sorts of plants, or even a biological control. Even if you mention pesticide, you'd get the mark. However, if you only mentioned chemicals or fertilizers or ploughing, you would not get the mark. Right, so the next question is, the farmer also found insects feeding on the leaves of maize plants. Explain how the insects could reduce the yield of maize. So you have to now think what insects do to the plants. So obviously there'll be less area of the leaf, or less surface, therefore less chloroplast of the leaf, therefore less light is trapped, and there's less photosynthesis. So you need to explain what happens, or you need to state what happens because as a consequence of the insects, and then you need to provide a further explanation to get the second mark. So we need to state what happens is less surface area because it's eaten, and the explanation is therefore less light is trapped, or there is less photosynthesis. Hopefully that makes sense. Name 2 ways in which the farmer could get rid of the insects feeding on the maize. What 2 ways? Well, all you need is a pesticide or insecticide, as we mentioned before, or a biological control. You can introduce a predator, and that should get you your 2 marks. Another way is sterile males who cannot reproduce, and eventually the insects will die out because the males are sterile. So hopefully that shows you how to get all the marks. So what we'll do is just give me 2 more minutes and I'll make another meeting. So join that video in 2 minutes, or a minute or so. And just remove yourself from this meeting.